Hey Stampers, Rose Coleman back with another video. Today I'm super excited to be participating in the Global Design Project challenge for this week. And the challenge for this week is a color challenge. So the colors that they've put on their blog for the Global Design Project is Soft Suede, Calypso Coral, and Pear Pizzazz. So I'm going to use the Garden Girl stamp set. This is a stamp set from the annual catalog. So I've had this one for a while and I haven't had a chance to play with it. So I thought this would be a great challenge to pull this one out and get it inked up. So I'm going to start off with, like I said, the color. It's a color challenge. So I've got Soft Suede as my base of cardstock. Then I've got a layer, I'm going to do a layer of Calypso Coral and then a layer of Pear Pizzazz. And let me show you what I'm going to do today. So I'm going to play with the cute girl stamp and I'm going to show you a technique. So what I'm going to do is stamp her on the paper first. So I'm going to stamp her in two places, okay? So I'm going to use Memento ink because I'm going to be playing with my colorful blends markers. These are my favorite. These blends markers, if you don't have these yet, they are the bomb. They are the best markers I've ever used for stamping. They blend beautifully, and it says in the product description that you should use Memento ink. That's this ink. So if you don't have one of those, you'll definitely want to grab one. They work really well with the alcohol markers so that they don't bleed the color. So I'm going to stamp the girl on my piece of Whisper White. Now this piece of Whisper White measures 3.5 by 3 3/4. And I'm just going to set her aside for a second. I'm going to ink this up again. And whenever I have a big stamp, I like to lay the stamp face up and then take my ink pad to the top. And that way I can ensure that I'm getting even coverage of ink all over the stamp. So I've got a piece of sticky note here, just some scrap sticky note paper. You want thin paper. I'm going to stamp her up close to the top where the sticky part is. And there we go. So I'm going to bring in my paper snips. What I want to do is this technique that I want to show you today is called masking. So I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm going to trim, come in here and trim as close to the image as I can, all the way along the bottom of her, okay? So you don't have to watch me cut all this out. But once you do this once, you can actually store it. I'll show you the inside of my stamp case. I've already made one for myself, and this is called my mask. So I'm just going to keep this in my stamp set, and then I'll always be able to use it, okay? So I'm just going to pull that out now. And why we want to make a mask, I'm going to show you. I'm going to lay this mask right over the top of the stamp that I just stamped, okay? So I'm going to bring in the other stamp from this image, which is the fence. So I want to use my Memento ink again. I'm going to ink up that fence, and I'm going to stamp the fence down towards the bottom of the card on this side. And I'm stamping right over top of that sticky note, and I'm going to come on this side. Okay, there. Now I can get rid of my mask. I'll just pull this closer to the camera. So once I get rid of my mask, now you can see that she's standing in front and the fence is the image in behind. So that's called masking, and that's how you do it. Whenever you want to have a focal image come to the front and you want some stamped images behind, you just make yourself a little mask and then you can keep it. And so you don't ever have to fussy cut it twice. So now I'm ready to do some coloring. So I'm going to pull in my blends, and like I was just telling you, the color challenge is Calypso Coral, which I have my Calypso Coral blends right here. And I'm going to start, just zoom in here. I'm just going to start by, I'll color her dress, and then I'll pause and we'll go faster, and then you can see the product at the end, okay? So I'm just going to share my tips on coloring while I color in her dress. So what I like to do for coloring with the blends is put down a base of the light color. So I'm just gonna, and I like to work in small sections. So I'm gonna take the top part of her dress and just color it with the light, just putting down a nice base. And then I wanna bring in my dark, and I'm actually gonna use my fine tip of the dark, and I'm gonna just accent along the edge, just to create some shadowing a little bit along her collar and down along her waist, and then her other shoulder and down along the edge. And then now what I want to do, this is where the beauty in my mind, this is where the beauty of the blends is. I want to bring in my light marker and come back, and I'm going to go over the image again, but I'm focusing on that image, or that dark line that I just made with the marker. Because that dark line, it looks like that's what a regular marker would do if you were coloring with it. But when you're using alcohol markers, that's the beauty, is that the alcohol is what is going to help it blend. So then you can see that I've got a bit of a darker shading. I'm going to go ahead and finish up the bottom of her dress. I'm going to add, I'm using the thicker marker tip. I'm just going to add a little bit of shading there. Now this is another way you can do it. You can add your dark accent first and then come in with your light and go over that where the dark meets the light, and you just want to blend that in. Okay, so I'm just going over that line multiple times to just kind of get the alcohol in there, and when you get the alcohol in, that's when it starts to blend. Okay, so I'm just gonna finish off her dress on this side. And I'm just going to keep going over that line, just kind of blending that color out and just kind of bleeding it out into the rest of her dress. If you can see that on camera, you can see how I'm just adding some shading along the side of her dress. I'm just going to show you that a little bit closer. So you can see how I've accented the edge of the dress to give it a little darker shading. So I'm happy with that. Now I'm just going to pause and do the rest of my coloring, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and I have my image all colored in using the blends. I'm just going to finish off my card now. The Garden Girl stamp set comes with a lot of really cute little images, so I've just used the girl and the fence right now, but I'm also going to pull in the bunny and the grass. So using the Pear Pizzazz, which was in the color challenge, I've got the grass all ready to go here. So I'm just going to stamp some grass along the bottom. And I've already, when I was coloring in the girl, I did pull in a little bunny. I stamped it on some scrap paper and I just fussy cut it out. Got a little bit left on his ear there. There. So that's going to go on my card. I think I'm actually ready to put this together. Let's stick it together. Okay, so I'm just going to flip this over and use some fast fuse adhesive on the back and put that on top of my Pear Pizzazz layer. Okay, and then I'm going to put a little bit of fast fuse on here and put that onto my Calypso Coral layer. And lastly, I will put this right onto my card base, which is, of course, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I'll just stick this right on here. I love how all the colors with Stampin' Up! Always coordinate. So that Calypso Coral in her dress pulls out the layer in the back. It's always matching. Let's put the bunny on. Okay, I think the bunny, I was wondering, I was thinking of putting the bunny on top of the fence, but I think maybe the bunny belongs down on the ground. I just stamped the bunny and fussy cut it. And then I'm just going to put him or her down on the ground just like that. Now the other thing I wanted to put on here was a greeting. So with Easter coming up and she's got the carrots in her basket and the little Easter bunny, I think it should be an Easter card. So the sweet little something, I have done a video previously using the Stamparatus, and I love this stamp set, and this bunny makes a great Easter card too. There's a little Happy Easter in here. So I'm going to pull that in, and some scrap white cardstock. So I've got my Happy Easter, and I'm going to use soft suede. Okay, so I'm just going to open up my ink pad and stamp that Happy Easter on some scrap white. I've also got a piece of scrap soft suede, and I'm using my classic label punch. Love this punch. It fits so many of our greetings. Just gonna punch one of them. That's gonna be my background. So then what I wanna do is I'm gonna go ahead and pop this Happy Easter out, but I'm gonna veer over to the left side of my stamped image, like this. Okay, and this is how you make your image smaller. I'm gonna take that now and feed it into the punch. Okay, I'm gonna feed it like into this little slot here. If you can see what I'm doing. It's gonna, whoops, without dropping it, of course. And like that. So before I punch it out, I just want to show you. So I want it to be this short, okay? So it's not quite the same length, and that's going to give me a little bit of a background then when I layer it onto my soft suede piece, like this. I should have a little border. Yeah, like that. My grid paper is slipping on me. So this is what I was looking for. Just a little border, a soft suede border on each edge. And then I'm going to go ahead and stick that onto my card. I don't have my mini dimensionals with me, but that's okay. Before we had mini dimensionals, we could cut our dimensionals. I'm just going to cut a little piece and pop that up. Just going to put a little dimensional right there in the center. There we go. There's my little Happy Easter blends card. I absolutely love coloring with the blends, and this card was super fun to make, so can't wait to pop this one in the mail for someone for Easter. I hope you like my video featuring the blends and the Garden Girl stamp set, and you'll come back and visit me again soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.